Have you ever felt the sting of betrayal so sharp it leaves you breathless? Imagine your ex-husband, the man who promised you forever, publicly humiliating you at the biggest gala of the year, just to impress his new, younger fiancée. He thinks you're nothing. He thinks he's won. But what he doesn't know is that the quiet, unassuming man helping you carry trays in the kitchen isn't just your new boyfriend. He's the billionaire who owns the very building they're standing in. And tonight isn't about charity. It's about revenge. You are not going to believe the twists in this story. Grab your popcorn, hit that subscribe button, and let's get into the scandal that shook New York City. The air inside Cipriani Wall Street smelled of expensive perfume, old money, and desperation. It was October 14th, 2024, the night of the annual Builders of Tomorrow Gala. It was the kind of event where a table cost $50,000, and the smiles were as tight as the facelifts. Jessica Mitchell adjusted the heavy silver tray in her hands, her knuckles white. She wasn't a guest. Not anymore. 3 years ago, she would have been wearing a gown from Oscar de la Renta, clutching the arm of her rising star architect husband, Gavin Sterling. Tonight, she was wearing a generic black vest, white button-down, and black slacks that were slightly too long. She was staff. "Champagne, madam?" Jessica asked, keeping her eyes lowered as she offered a flute to a woman dripping in diamonds. "Finally," the woman huffed, snatching the glass without looking at her. Jessica swallowed her pride. It tasted like ash. After the divorce, Gavin had made sure she was left with nothing but debt and a tarnished reputation. He had the high-powered lawyers. She had the bills. She had started her own boutique event planning and catering company, Mitchell's Table, from scratch. It was successful, but tonight they were short-staffed, and Jessica never shied away from the trenches. She was filling in for a sick server, praying she would remain invisible. Well, well, look what the cat dragged in. Or should I say, the help dragged out. The voice was unmistakable. It was a smooth, baritone sound that used to whisper promises of forever into her ear. Now, it just sounded like a jagged knife. Jessica froze. She slowly lifted her head. Gavin Sterling stood there, looking every bit the Man of the Year nominee he was. His tuxedo was custom Tom Ford, fitting his broad shoulders perfectly. He had aged well in 3 years. Money tended to do that to people. But it was the woman on his arm who drew the eye. She was stunning, in the way a brand-new sports car is stunning. Blonde, maybe 24, wearing a red silk dress that left very little to the imagination. This was Tiffany, the upgrade. The woman Gavin had left Jessica for because, as he put it during their final mediation, Jessica had become too domestic for his rising ambition. "Hello, Gavin," Jessica said, her voice steady despite the thumping of her heart. Gavin chuckled, a low, cruel sound. He swirled the scotch in his glass. "I heard Mitchell's Table was catering this. I didn't realize the CEO was also the busboy. Time's that tough, Jessica." Tiffany giggled, covering her mouth with a manicured hand. "Babe, is this her? The one who used to... you know?" "The ex-wife," Gavin confirmed, looking at Jessica with a mixture of pity and disgust. "Jessica, this is Tiffany. My fiancée." He emphasized the word fiancée like he was planting a flag. He lifted his hand, flashing a diamond on Tiffany's finger that was easily 5 carats. It caught the light of the massive chandeliers, sending a prism of mockery straight into Jessica's eyes. "Congratulations," Jessica said, gripping her tray tighter. "If you'll excuse me, I have work to do." "Wait," Gavin said, stepping in front of her, blocking her path. He plucked an empty hors d'oeuvre napkin from a nearby table and dropped it onto Jessica's tray. "You missed a spot. Clean up as you go, Jessica. We wouldn't want the investors to think the service is as second-rate as the architecture used to be." It was a low blow. Jessica had been the one who designed the initial drafts for Gavin's firm. She was the silent partner, the creative mind he had exploited and then discarded. "Enjoy your night, Gavin," Jessica whispered, forcing herself to walk away before the tears could spill. She hurried towards the swinging kitchen doors, her face burning. She pushed through into the chaotic, noisy sanctuary of the kitchen and nearly collided with a tall, broad figure. "Whoa, easy there," a gentle voice said. Two strong hands steadied her by the shoulders. It was Liam Harrington. He was wearing a simple black suit, no tie, top button undone. He looked like a handsome, tired accountant, or maybe a high school history teacher. He had been dating Jessica for 6 months. They met at a farmer's market where he was arguing with a vendor about the price of heirloom tomatoes. He was sweet, quiet, and incredibly supportive. He was also, as far as Jessica knew, a freelance graphic designer who struggled to find steady work. He drove a beat-up 2015 Honda Civic and lived in a modest apartment in Queens. But he made Jessica laugh, and he treated her like she was the most important person in the room, even when that room was a sweaty commercial kitchen. "You okay?" Liam asked, ducking his head to catch her eyes. He brushed a stray hair from her forehead. "You look like you saw a ghost." "Worse," Jessica exhaled, leaning into his touch for a second. "Gavin is here. With her." Liam's expression hardened instantly. His jaw clenched. "Did he say something to you?" "Just the usual," Jessica said, straightening up and putting on her brave face. "He treated me like a servant." "Flash the ring, the usual power trip." "I'm fine, Liam. Really. I just need to get these crab cakes out to table 4. Liam looked at the heavy tray in her hands. He gently took it from her. "I'll take table 4, he said firmly. "Liam, you're not even technically on the payroll tonight. You're just helping me out, because Jerry called in sick. You don't have to." "I'm taking table 4, Liam repeated, a strange glint in his blue eyes. "Besides, I want to see this Gavin character up close, see if he's as impressive as he thinks he is." "Liam, please don't cause a scene," Jessica begged. "Gavin is powerful in this industry. If we make a mess, Mitchell's table could lose contracts." Liam smiled, but it wasn't his usual goofy grin. It was a sharp, wolfish smile that Jessica had never seen before. "Don't worry, Jessica," he said softly. "I promise I won't make a mess. I'm just going to observe." The ballroom was buzzing with the sound of 1,000 deals being struck. Liam moved through the crowd with an ease that shouldn't have been possible for a freelance graphic designer crashing a high society gala. He held the tray of crab cakes with one hand, his posture impeccable. He spotted Gavin Sterling immediately. He was the loudest man in the center of the room, holding court near the ice sculpture. Liam approached the group. He didn't offer the food immediately. He just stood near the edge of the circle, listening. "So I told the zoning board," Gavin was booming, gesturing wildly, "you can either approve the height increase for the Sterling Tower, or you can explain to the mayor why the city is losing a $1 billion skyline icon." Naturally, they folded. The group laughed obsequiously. Men in expensive suits patted Gavin on the back. Tiffany was busy taking a selfie with the ice sculpture. "Impressive," Liam said, his voice cutting through the laughter. It wasn't loud, but it had a timbre that commanded attention. Gavin turned, annoyed at the interruption. He looked Liam up and down, taking in the tieless suit and the tray of food. "The crab cakes are for eating, buddy, not for holding," Gavin sneered. "Pass them around or get lost." Liam didn't move. "I was referring to your story. It takes a lot of confidence to strong-arm a zoning board. Usually that implies you have the capital to back up the threat." The circle went quiet. The air temperature seemed to drop 5 degrees. Staff didn't talk to guests like this. Gavin stepped closer to Liam, towering over him by an inch. "Excuse me? Do you know who I am?" "Gavin Sterling," Liam said calmly, "CEO of Sterling Architects, formerly married to Jessica Mitchell, the woman whose designs you used to launch your first 3 projects. I believe the skyline loft concept was hers, wasn't it?" Gavin's face turned a blotchy shade of red. "Who the hell is this guy?" he barked, looking around for security. "Is this one of Jessica's hires?" "Figures. Tiffany piped up, looking up from her phone. "You, is this her boyfriend? She told me she was dating some loser." Liam shifted his gaze to Tiffany. He didn't look angry. He looked amused. "I'm Liam, and yes, I'm dating Jessica. I'm helping her out tonight." Gavin burst out laughing. It was a loud, barking sound that drew eyes from the surrounding tables. "Oh, this is rich. This is perfect. Jessica is back in the kitchen, and her boyfriend is a waiter. I knew she had low standards, but this is a new low. Tell me, Liam, what do you do when you aren't passing hors d'oeuvres? Drive Uber? Sell insurance?" "I'm in asset management," Liam said vaguely. "Asset management?" Gavin howled, slapping his knee. "That means he works at a bank teller window. Listen, pal, here's a tip." Gavin reached into his pocket and pulled out a crisp $100 bill. He shoved it into the breast pocket of Liam's jacket. "Take this. Go buy yourself a tie. And tell Jessica to try harder next time. Honestly, it's embarrassing for me to see her like this. It reflects poorly on my past judgment." Liam looked down at the $100 bill. He slowly pulled it out of his pocket. He held it up to the light, inspecting it. "You know, Gavin," Liam said, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous register, "there's an old saying in my family. The louder the man, the smaller the bank account. You're making a lot of noise tonight." "Security!" Gavin shouted, snapping his fingers. "Get this clown out of my face before I buy the catering company and fire him myself." 2 large security guards started moving towards them. Liam didn't flinch. He placed the tray of crab cakes onto a nearby high-top table. He dusted off his hands. "No need," Liam said. "I was just leaving to check on the main course. But enjoy your night, Gavin. I have a feeling it's going to be one you'll never forget." Liam turned and walked away, leaving Gavin fuming but triumphant. "Unbelievable," Gavin muttered to his circle. "The audacity of the poor. It's like a disease." Back in the kitchen, Jessica was frantically plating the filet mignon. She looked up as Liam swung back in. He looked unbothered, but there was a tension in his shoulders. "What happened?" Jessica asked, rushing to him. "I heard shouting." "Nothing," Liam said, picking up an apron and tying it around his waist. "Just met the ex. Charming guy. I can see why you divorced him." "Liam, did he do something? Did he hurt you?" Liam paused. He looked at Jessica, really looked at her. He saw the fatigue in her eyes, the years of feeling less than, the fear that Gavin would always win. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and typed a quick text message. "Recipient, Arthur Penhaligon. Legal. Message, execute the acquisition, the sterling portfolio. Tonight." He put the phone away and smiled at Jessica. "He didn't hurt me, Jessica, but I think he's about to have a very bad indigestion." "What does that mean?" "It means," Liam said, grabbing 2 plates of filet mignon, "that the show is just starting. Come on. The speeches are about to begin, and you need to be in the room for this." "Me? No, I stay in the kitchen during speeches." "Not tonight," Liam said. "Trust me." The ballroom lights dimmed. The chatter subsided as the spotlight hit the center stage. The master of ceremonies, a well-known news anchor, stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the highlight of our evening, the presentation of the Visionary Award and the announcement of the winning bid for the new Hudson Yards redevelopment project, a contract worth $200 million. Applause rippled through the room. Gavin Sterling adjusted his bow tie, beaming. He had been bragging for weeks that the contract was in the bag. He had leveraged everything, his firm, his personal assets, even the mortgage on his penthouse, to undercut the competition and bribe the right officials. He needed this win. Without it, Sterling Architects was insolvent. Jessica stood in the back shadows of the ballroom, near the service entrance, watching. Liam stood beside her, his hand warm on the small of her back. "He looks so confident," Jessica whispered. "He always wins, Liam. It's just how the world works." "Not always," Liam murmured. "And now," the MC continued, To present the award and announce the partner for the Hudson Yards project, please welcome the CEO of the financing group behind the development, a man who rarely makes public appearances, the head of Harrington Global Holdings, Mr. Liam Harrington. The room went polite with applause, but there was confusion. People looked around. They expected an old man in a suit. Gavin Sterling was clapping loosely, whispering to Tiffany. Harrington? Never heard of him. Probably some figurehead. Then the spotlight began to search the room. Mr. Harrington? The MC asked, scanning the VIP tables. Jessica felt Liam's hand leave her back. Hold this, he whispered, handing her his apron. Liam? Jessica hissed. What are you doing? Liam stepped out of the shadows. He walked down the center aisle, the service aisle. He was still wearing his simple suit, no tie. The spotlight swung wildly and caught him. A murmur of confusion swept through the crowd. Ideally, the waiter, someone whispered. Gavin Sterling froze. He squinted against the glare of the spotlight. He saw the man walking towards the stage, the man he had just tried to tip $100. No, Gavin whispered. No, no, no. Liam walked up the stairs to the stage. He took the microphone from the stunned MC. He looked out at the sea of faces, the elite of New York. Then he looked directly at table number 1, right into Gavin Sterling's eyes. Good evening, Liam said. His voice was calm, authoritative, and terrifyingly familiar to everyone in the room. I apologize for the attire, Liam continued, gesturing to his suit. I was assisting the catering team. Mitchell's table. The service is excellent, by the way. I highly recommend the crab cakes. A few nervous chuckles. Jessica, in the back, had her hands over her mouth. Her legs felt like jelly. Harrington Global Holdings? Liam? Her Liam? I am Liam Harrington, he said. For years, my family has operated quietly. We believe in building things that last. Integrity, foundation, respect. He paused. We were set to announce the partner for the Hudson Yards project tonight. The frontrunner was Sterling Architects. Gavin stood up, buttoning his jacket, ready to accept his prize. He wore a smile that looked like a rictus of terror. However, Liam said, his voice dropping to absolute zero, I had the opportunity to inspect Mr. Sterling's character up close tonight. I learned a lot about how he treats those he views as beneath him. Gavin sat back down, his knees giving out. Business is about numbers, Liam said, but legacy is about people. I cannot entrust a $200 million project to a man who measures worth by the price of a tuxedo. The room was deadly silent. You could hear a pin drop. Therefore, Liam announced, Sterling Architects is disqualified from the bidding process, effective immediately. Gavin jumped up. You can't do this. We have a verbal agreement. I have investors. Furthermore, Liam continued, ignoring Gavin's outburst, Harrington Global has spent the last hour acquiring the outstanding debt of Sterling Architects. As of 10 minutes ago, I am not just your potential client, Mr. Sterling. I am your principal creditor. Liam pulled the crumpled $100 bill from his pocket, the one Gavin had tipped him. And Gavin, Liam said into the mic, I'm returning your investment. You're going to need every penny. He let the bill flutter to the stage floor. The silence in the ballroom didn't last. It shattered into a cacophony of whispers, gasps, and the frantic clicking of camera shutters. Phones were raised like a salute of digital judgment, recording the fall of the king of architecture. Liam walked down the stairs from the stage. He didn't look at the crowd. He didn't look at the furious investors who were already frantically texting their lawyers. He walked straight to the back of the room, into the shadows where Jessica was standing, clutching his dirty apron like a lifeline. She looked at him as if he were a stranger. The man she knew wore flannel shirts and worried about the price of gas. This man, walking toward her with the stride of a titan, owned the skyline. Liam, she breathed, her voice barely audible over the din. I'm sorry, he said immediately, reaching for her hands. His eyes were pleading. I wanted to tell you. I was going to tell you tonight. after work. But when I saw him, You're a billionaire? Jessica asked, her mind struggling to reconcile the two versions of him. All this time? The broken radiator in your apartment, the coupon cutting. The radiator is broken, Liam said with a faint, apologetic smile. I live in that apartment. It keeps me grounded. Jessica, please, you son of a bitch! The scream tore through the moment. Gavin Sterling was charging down the centre aisle, his face purple with rage. He shoved a waiter aside, sending a tray of champagne crashing to the floor. Security guards started to move, but Liam held up a hand to stop them. He wanted Gavin to come. Gavin skid to a halt 3 feet away from them, his chest heaving. Tiffany was trailing behind him, looking less angry and more like a deer in headlights, calculating the blast radius of the explosion. "You set me up!" Gavin roared, pointing a shaking finger at Liam. "You played me! This is fraud! You can't just buy my debt and disqualify me in front of the entire city. I'll sue you! I'll bury you!" Liam stepped in front of Jessica, his posture shifting from apologetic boyfriend to immovable wall. "You're welcome to try, Gavin," Liam said coldly. "But my legal team is larger than your entire firm. And unlike you, they play by the book. You leveraged your assets 120% to bid on Hudson Yards. You falsified occupancy rates on your current buildings to secure the loans. That's bank fraud, Gavin. I didn't set you up. I just turned on the lights." Gavin sputtered, his eyes darting around the room. He saw his peers, people he had bullied and bragged to for years, watching him with mixture of schadenfreude and disgust. He turned his venom on Jessica. "You knew!" Gavin spat, stepping toward her. "You planned this, you little snake. You acted like the victim, playing the poor caterer while you were sleeping with the bank. How much did he pay you, huh? Did you whore yourself out to ruin me?" Liam's fist clenched. He took a step forward, his eyes dark. "Say one more word about her, and I won't wait for the lawyers to destroy you." But Jessica put a hand on Liam's chest. She pushed past him, stepping into the light. She looked at her ex-husband, really looked at him, and realized that the fear she had carried for 3 years was gone. He wasn't a monster. He was just a small, greedy man in a borrowed suit. "I didn't know, Gavin," Jessica said, her voice ringing clear and steady. "I didn't know who he was. And that's the difference between you and me. I loved Liam when I thought he had nothing. You only loved me when I could build your career, and you dumped me the second you thought you could do better." She gestured to Tiffany, who was frantically scrolling through her phone nearby. "And now," Jessica continued, "you're about to learn exactly how much she loves you." Gavin whipped around to look at Tiffany. "Tiff, baby, tell them. We're a team. We'll fight this." Tiffany looked up. Her expression was flat. "Gavin, is it true? Are you broke?" "It's a temporary liquidity issue," Gavin pleaded, sweat dripping down his forehead. "Once I sue—" "So the penthouse?" Tiffany asked. "The Hamptons house?" "Used as collateral," Liam interjected helpfully. "They belong to the bank now, which means they belong to me. Eviction notices will be served in the morning." Tiffany dropped Gavin's arm like it was burning hot. "You told me you were worth 50 million, she hissed. "You told me you were untouchable. I am. I will be." Gavin reached for her hand, but she recoiled. "Don't touch me," she snapped. "I'm not going down with a sinking ship. I have a modelling career to think about. I can't be associated with a fraud." She turned to Jessica. "He's all yours, sweetie. Though honestly, you can keep the waiter Billionaire. This one is expired goods." With a hair flip that deserved an award of its own, Tiffany turned on her red-soled heels and marched out of the ballroom, leaving Gavin standing alone in the wreckage of his life. The room was silent again. Gavin looked around, his breathing ragged. He looked at Jessica, hoping for a shred of the old sympathy, the soft-hearted woman he had manipulated for a decade. "Jessica," he croaked, "you can't let him do this. We were family." Jessica looked at him with pity, but it was the cold, distant pity one feels for roadkill. "We were never family, Gavin," she said softly. "I was your stepping stone, and you just ran out of steps." She turned to Liam. "Get me out of here, please." Liam nodded. He put a protective arm around her shoulders and guided her towards the exit. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. No one dared to speak to Liam Harrington, but every eye was glued to Jessica Mitchell, the woman who had walked in a servant and was walking out a queen. As they reached the doors, Gavin screamed one last desperate threat. "This isn't over. I know things. I know about the blueprints. Jessica, you hear me? If I go down, I'm taking your little catering business and your reputation with me." Jessica stiffened for a second, but she didn't look back. The doors swung shut, sealing the noise and the toxicity behind them. But out on the cool New York sidewalk, the reality of the night hit her. She pulled away from Liam's touch, wrapping her arms around herself. "Jessica?" Liam asked gently. "Don't," she whispered. "Just don't. You lied to me. For 6 months. Every day." "I didn't lie about how I feel," Liam said, his voice desperate. "You lied about who you are," Jessica said, tears finally spilling over. "I fell in love with a struggling graphic designer. I don't know who you are, Liam Harrington, and I don't know if I can trust you." She hailed a cab before he could stop her. "Jessica, wait. Let me drive you home." "No," she said, opening the cab door. "I think you've done enough driving for one night. Stay away from me, Liam. I need to think." The cab sped off, leaving the billionaire standing alone on the curb, victorious in business, but feeling like he had just lost the only thing that actually mattered. The next morning, New York City woke up to a scandal that eclipsed the weather, the stock market, and the sports scores. New York Post, Gavin gone, architect mogul humiliated by billionaire busboy. The Times, Harrington, Global acquires sterling debt, a hostile takeover at a charity gala. TMZ, Tiffany's walks, Fiancée dumps broke, architect seconds after bankruptcy reveal. Jessica sat at her kitchen table in her small Brooklyn apartment, staring at the pile of newspapers. Her phone had been buzzing non-stop since 6 a.m. Journalists, old friends she hadn't heard from in years, and clients. Everyone wanted the scoop. She turned her phone off. She felt hollow. The vindication of seeing Gavin fall should have been sweet, and part of it was. Seeing the pictures of him being escorted out of Cipriani by security was satisfying in a primal way. But the image of Liam on that stage, cold and powerful, kept haunting her. The man she loved was a fiction. Or maybe the billionaire was the fiction, and the man she loved was real. She didn't know anymore. There was a knock at the door. Jessica ignored it. "Jessica, I know you're in there. I can hear you overthinking." It was Liam. Of course he knew where she lived. He had spent countless nights here, eating takeout on her rug, fixing her leaky faucet, watching movies on her laptop. "Go away, Liam," she shouted. "Go count your money." "I don't care about the money," he shouted back through the wood. "I brought bagels, the poppy seed ones from the place on 4th Street, and coffee, bad coffee from the bodega, just how you like it." Jessica hesitated. He remembered her order. He remembered the specific bagel place. She opened the door, leaving the chain on. Liam stood there. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing jeans and a faded grey hoodie, his Sunday uniform. He looked exhausted. There were dark circles under his eyes. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. 5 minutes. If you want me to leave after that, I will. I swear." Jessica undid the chain and opened the door. Liam walked in and set the bag of bagels on the table, right on top of the picture of Gavin's crying face on the front page of the Post. "Why?" Jessica asked, crossing her arms. "That's all I want to know. Why the charade? Was it a game? Was I some social experiment? Let's see if the poor catering girl will date a broke guy." "No," Liam said sharply. He sat down on one of her mismatched chairs. "It wasn't a game. It was survival." He looked at his hands. "Jessica, everyone I have met since I was 18 knew my last name before they knew my first. I've been targeted by gold diggers, corporate spies, and people who just wanted a loan. My last fiancée? She was hired by a competitor to get insider information on a merger. She didn't love me. She loved the access. He looked up at her, his blue eyes raw. When I met you at the market, you yelled at me for squeezing the tomatoes too hard. You didn't know who I was. You didn't care. You just saw a guy who was bad at grocery shopping. It was the first time in 10 years I felt invisible, in a good way. So you kept it up for 6 months? Jessica asked, her voice softening slightly. I didn't intend to, but then I started falling for you, and I heard how Gavin treated you, how he made you feel like you were nothing without his money and status. I was terrified that if I told you I was a billionaire, you'd think I was just another Gavin, another rich guy trying to buy you. Jessica sat down opposite him. The anger was fading, replaced by a heavy sadness. Liam, Gavin used money to control me. You used the lack of it to deceive me. It's still manipulation. I know, Liam whispered. I know that now, and I'm sorry. I should have trusted you, but last night, when I saw him humiliate you, I couldn't play the part anymore. I had to burn his world down to protect yours. Jessica looked at the bagel bag. She reached out and took a coffee. It was lukewarm and tasted like burnt hazelnuts. It was perfect. You really bought his debt? She asked. Every cent. He's finished, Jessica. He can't hurt you anymore. Jessica let out a long, shaky breath. He said something. As we were leaving, he said he knows about the blueprints. He threatened my business. Liam frowned. What blueprints? When we were married, Jessica explained, I did a lot of the initial sketches for his firm, but I never signed any contracts. I was his wife. I trusted him. He put his name on all my work. If he claims that I'm using his intellectual property for my event designs, even though they're mine, he could sue me. He could freeze my accounts. Mitchell's table is just starting to turn a profit. A lawsuit would bankrupt me in a month. Liam's eyes hardened. The shark from the Gala was back, just for a second. He won't get the chance. I have lawyers who— No, Jessica interrupted firmly. No more billionaire rescues. If Gavin comes for me, I have to handle it. I can't trade one controlling man for a powerful savior. I need to know I can stand on my own feet. Liam looked at her with a mixture of frustration and admiration. Okay, I respect that. But at least let me— His phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. Then Jessica's landline, which nobody ever called, started ringing. Liam looked at his screen. His face went pale. What? Jessica asked, feeling a knot of dread in her stomach. It's my head of legal, Liam said, and the police. The police? Why? Gavin, Liam said, standing up. He's not at his office. He's not at his apartment. He's missing. And apparently before he vanished, he uploaded a video to YouTube. A video? Liam tapped his screen and turned it toward Jessica. On the screen, a disheveled, manic-looking Gavin was sitting in a dark room. He was holding a stack of papers. You think you won, Harrington? Gavin's voice on the video was raspy, unhinged. You think you can steal my life and my wife? Well, I have a surprise. Jessica Mitchell isn't just a caterer. She's a thief. These documents prove she stole proprietary designs from sterling architects to build her little party planning business. And worse, she embezzled money from our joint accounts to fund it. Jessica gasped. That's a lie. He drained the accounts. On the screen, Gavin leaned into the camera, his eyes wide and crazy. I've sent the evidence to the district attorney, and I've sent a copy to every client of Mitchell's table. By noon today, she won't just be broke. She'll be in handcuffs. If I'm going down, Jessica, you're coming with me to hell. The video ended. Jessica stared at the black screen, her hands trembling. He forged them. He must have forged documents. Liam was already typing furiously on his phone. He's cornered. He's lashing out. We can prove they're fake." "By noon," Jessica whispered. "He sent them to my clients. My reputation." Her phone pinged. An email cancellation from a bride for a wedding next weekend. Then another ping, a corporate luncheon cancellation. The fallout wasn't over. It was just beginning. "I need to go to the police," Jessica said, standing up. "I need to get ahead of this." "I'm coming with you," Liam said. "Liam." "No," he said, grabbing his keys. "You said you didn't want a savior. Fine. But you still have a boyfriend, and I'm not letting you walk into that precinct alone while a lunatic is on the loose." Jessica looked at him. She saw the fear in his eyes, not for his money, but for her. "Okay," she said. "Let's go." As they opened the door to leave, they found a package sitting on the doormat. It wasn't a delivery. It was a manila envelope, taped shut. Written on the front in jagged red marker was one word: "Inside." Liam kicked the door shut and pulled Jessica back. "Don't touch it. It's from him," Jessica whispered. "Call the police," Liam ordered, his voice low and terrified. "Tell them Gavin Sterling is here." The arrival of the NYPD bomb squad turned Jessica's quiet Brooklyn street into a circus. Flashing red and blue lights bounced off the brownstones, illuminating the terrified faces of neighbors peering out from behind curtains. Officer Miller, a grizzled veteran with a thick mustache, emerged from Jessica's apartment building, holding a clear evidence bag. Inside was not a bomb, but a burner phone and a single, charred piece of paper. It wasn't an explosive, Miller told Liam and Jessica, who were huddled by the back of an ambulance, draped in blankets despite the mild weather. Just this. Jessica looked at the charred paper in the bag. It was the corner of a sketchbook page. She recognized the cross-hatching immediately. It was her original draft for the Helix Tower, the project that had put Gavin on the map 5 years ago. "He burned them," Jessica whispered, a cold numbness spreading through her chest. "The only proof I have that I designed those buildings. He's destroying the evidence while framing me." Suddenly the burner phone inside the evidence bag lit up. It began to vibrate. Officer Miller looked at them. "He wants to talk. We can trace it, but we need you to keep him on the line." Jessica nodded. Her hands were shaking as she took the phone through the plastic bag. She answered and put it on speaker. "Hello, Gavin," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Did you like my gift, Jessica?" Gavin's voice sounded distorted, likely due to a poor signal, but the malice was crystal clear. "I'm having a little bonfire. It's quite therapeutic. Watching your legacy turn to ash." "Where are you?" Jessica demanded. "Stop this. You're making it worse." "I'm making it even," Gavin snapped. "You took my future. I'm taking your past. I'm at the place where it all started, Jessica. Do you remember? The place where you sketched your first little dream?" Jessica's eyes widened. "The old refinery, in Red Hook. Bingo. Come alone, Jessica. If I see a cop, or if I see your billionaire boyfriend, I burn the rest of the book, and then I jump. And if I die, the lawsuit against you sticks. You'll spend the next 10 years in prison for embezzlement because you won't be able to prove a thing." The line went dead. "We have a lock on the signal," Officer Miller said, tapping his earpiece. "He's at the Red Hook waterfront, derelict sugar refinery. We can have a SWAT team there in 20 minutes. "No," Jessica said. "He'll see them coming. The refinery is open air. It's a skeleton of a building. If he sees police, he'll destroy the proofs and kill himself. I have to go in." "Absolutely not," Liam said, stepping in front of her. "I am not letting you walk into a trap with a psychopath." "Liam, those sketchbooks are my life's work," Jessica argued, her eyes pleading. "And more importantly, if he dies without confessing to the forgery, I go to jail. His lawyers have papered the city with fake evidence. I need a confession. I need him to say it while the police are listening." Liam looked at Officer Miller. "Can you wire her?" "We can," Miller nodded. "But it's dangerous. If he finds the wire—" "He won't," Jessica said. "He's arrogant. He thinks I'm weak. He thinks I'm still the girl who made him sandwiches while he took credit for my genius. Let me do this." Liam clenched his jaw. the muscles working furiously. He hated this. Every instinct in his body screamed to wrap her in cotton wool and fly her to a private island. But he looked at Jessica, the set of her jaw, the fire in her eyes, and realized he couldn't stop her. This was her fight. "Okay," Liam said, his voice rough, "but I'm not staying here. I'll be with the tactical team. If anything goes wrong, we move in. I don't care about the evidence. I care about you." Underscore, 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 underscore. 30 minutes later, Jessica stood at the base of the massive, rusting sugar refinery. The structure loomed over the waterfront like the ribcage of a dead leviathan. The wind was picking up, whipping her hair across her face. She wore a heavy coat, concealing the wire taped to her chest. "I'm here!" she shouted into the cavernous darkness of the ground floor. "Top floor, Jessica!" Gavin's voice echoed down from the metal grating high above. "Climb!" Jessica began the ascent. The metal stairs groaned under her weight. Rust flaked off onto her hands. She climbed 4 flights, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. When she reached the top platform, the view was breathtaking and terrifying. The Manhattan skyline glittered across the water, the very skyline Gavin claimed to own. Gavin was standing near the edge, where the railing had rusted away. A fire burned in a metal barrel next to him. He held a thick, leather-bound sketchbook over the flames. He looked terrible. His tuxedo from the night before was torn and stained. His eyes were bloodshot and wild. "You came," he said, a twisted smile forming. "Alone?" "Alone," Jessica lied. She knew Liam and the SWAT team were moving into position in the shadows below. "Put the book down, Gavin. Let's talk." "Talk?" Gavin laughed. "We're done talking. I just wanted you to see this." He lowered the book closer to the fire. "This is the original draft for the Skyline Loft, isn't it? The project that got me my first cover of Architectural Digest." "It's my design," Jessica said, stepping closer. "You couldn't figure out the load-bearing walls. I did it for you. And who cares?" Gavin spat. "I sold it. I built the firm. I did the work." "You did nothing but lie," Jessica yelled, playing to the wire. "Just like you're lying about the embezzlement. You forged those bank documents, didn't you? You framed me because you're broke. Of course I forged them." Gavin screamed, his voice carrying over the wind. "It took me all night. I hacked your cloud account, planted the transfers, and printed the logs. It's a masterpiece, really. Better than any building. When I'm dead, the police will find proof that you stole $3 million. You'll be ruined, Jessica. Just like me." "Got it." Officer Miller's voice crackled in Jessica's tiny earpiece. "We have the confession. Move back, Jessica. We're moving in." Jessica took a step back. "It's over, Gavin. You just confessed on a police wire." Gavin froze. His eyes widened. He looked at her chest, then at the shadows moving on the stairs below. "You bitch," he whispered. He didn't throw the book into the fire. He threw it at Jessica. As she instinctively raised her hands to catch it, Gavin lunged. He wasn't trying to escape. He was trying to take her with him over the edge. He tackled her, the force driving the air from her lungs. They slammed onto the rusted metal grating. Jessica screamed as she felt her legs dangle over the precipice. The dark water of the East River churned 100 feet below. "If I go, you go!" Gavin shrieked, his hands clamping around her throat. "Get off her!" Liam's voice was a roar of pure fury. He hadn't waited for the SWAT team. He had sprinted up the back stairs. Liam collided with Gavin, ripping him off Jessica. The two men rolled across the gritty floor, punching and grappling. Gavin was desperate, fighting with the strength of a madman, but Liam was younger, stronger, and fueled by a terrifying rage. Liam pinned Gavin to the ground, his fist raised. "Liam, don't!" Jessica screamed, scrambling to her feet, clutching the rescued sketchbook. "Don't kill him, he's not worth it!" Liam froze. His fist hovered inches from Gavin's bloody face. He looked at Gavin, pathetic, broken, weeping on the floor. "You're right," Liam panted, standing up and backing away. "He's nothing." Gavin scrambled backward, towards the edge. "I'm not nothing. I built this city. I am Sterling Architects." "Gavin, stop!" Jessica cried out. But Gavin was looking past them, at something only he could see. A legacy that never existed. He took another step back, his heel hitting empty air. He teetered. Liam lunged forward to grab him. He caught Gavin's sleeve. For a second, they held there, the billionaire holding the man who tried to destroy him. Gavin looked at Liam, then he looked at Jessica. "The foundation," Gavin whispered, a strange clarity returning to his eyes. "Check the foundation of the helix." Then Gavin yanked his arm back. The fabric tore. Liam fell backward onto the grating. Gavin fell into the night. There was no scream, just the splash of water far below. 3 days later, the police had ruled Gavin's death a suicide. The recording from the wire cleared Jessica of all charges immediately. The embezzlement case was closed before it even opened. Jessica sat in the conference room of Harrington Global Holdings. It was a glass-walled fortress in the sky, very different from her cozy kitchen. Liam sat at the head of the table, looking like the CEO he was. He wore a crisp navy suit. He looked tired. "Why am I here, Liam?" Jessica asked. "I have a business to rebuild. I have clients to apologize to." "We need to talk about Gavin's last words," Liam said. He slid a thick file across the polished mahogany table. "Check the foundation of the helix." Jessica frowned. The Helix Tower. That was his first big residential project. People have been living there for 4 years. "My engineers spent the last 48 hours analyzing the original blueprints, the ones you saved from the fire, and comparing them to what Gavin actually built," Liam said grimly. "Jessica, look at page 52. Jessica opened the file. She saw her original drawing, a complex lattice structure designed to distribute weight evenly. Then she saw the as-built drawings from Gavin's firm. She gasped. He changed the steel grade, and he removed the secondary support trusses. To save money, Liam confirmed. He pocketed the difference, about $4 million. But by removing those trusses, he compromised the structural integrity. The helix isn't stable. In high winds, or a minor tremor. "It could collapse," Jessica whispered, horrified. "There are 600 people living in that building." "Not anymore," Liam said. "I ordered a mandatory evacuation this morning. I told the press it was for a gas leak to prevent panic, but the building is condemned. It has to come down." Jessica sat back, stunned. That's why he was so desperate. It wasn't just the debt. If you acquired his company, you would have done an audit. You would have found the flaw. He was going to go to prison for hundreds of counts of reckless endangerment, maybe manslaughter if it fell. "He knew his time was up," Liam said. He stood up and walked over to the window, looking out at the city. "I bought a company full of death traps, Jessica. I'm going to lose about $300 million tearing that building down and reimbursing the tenants." He turned to look at her. "But I don't care. Because you saved those blueprints. If you hadn't gone into that refinery, if you hadn't saved the original design, we might not have known until it was too late. You saved 600 lives. Jessica looked down at her hands. The hands that had scrubbed tables and carried trays. The hands that Gavin had called useless. "I didn't do it for them," she said softly. "I did it because I wanted my name back." "You have it back," Liam said. "And more. The press knows everything. Mitchell's table is booked solid for the next 2 years. You're a hero, Jessica." "I don't feel like a hero," she admitted. "I feel tired." Liam walked over to her. He hesitated, then knelt down beside her chair so he was looking up at her. It was a humble pose for a man who had just lost $300 million without blinking. "Jessica," he said, "I know I lied. I know I started this on a false premise. I can't undo that. But the man who loves your burnt coffee? The man who thinks you're the smartest, bravest person in New York? That wasn't a lie. He reached into his pocket. Jessica braced herself, expecting a ring, a diamond like the one Gavin had flaunted. Instead, Liam pulled out a packet of heirloom tomato seeds. "I'm going back to the farmer's market on Saturday," he said, a small, hopeful smile playing on his lips. "I was hoping... maybe. You could come with me? Teach me how to pick the right ones this time." Jessica looked at the seeds. Then she looked at the billionaire kneeling on the floor of his boardroom. She thought about the last few days. The way he had protected her, the way he had fought for her, and the way he had listened to her when she said she needed to fight her own battles. She took the seeds. "You really are terrible at grocery shopping," she said, a smile finally breaking through her exhaustion. "I know," Liam said. "That's why I need a partner. In everything." Jessica stood up, pulling him up with her. She didn't kiss him. Not yet. She just held his hand, feeling the warmth and the strength of it. "Pick me up at 9, she said. "And bring the Honda. I don't like the limo." Liam grinned, and for the first time in days the shark was gone. Just Liam remained. "It's a date." They walked out of the office together, leaving the file on the table. Outside, the sun was shining on a skyline that was missing one building, but was safer, stronger, and finally, honest. And that, my friends, is how Jessica Mitchell went from serving hors d'oeuvres to saving hundreds of lives. She took down a corrupt empire, cleared her name, and found a love that was based on more than just a bank account balance. It's a reminder that true power isn't about the suit you wear or the car you drive. It's about integrity. Gavin Sterling built his life on a foundation of lies, and it collapsed. Jessica built hers on hard work and truth, and she's still standing. What would you have done in Jessica's shoes? Would you have forgiven Liam for lying about his identity for 6 months? Or is a lie always a deal-breaker, no matter the intention? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this roller coaster of revenge and romance, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss a story. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.